God's World News has been providing current events coverage that helps students live out the gospel. Our print and digital formats make it easy for kids to learn through news stories that are both factual and biblically sound.
Good morning. It's Monday, March 14th. I'm Myrna Brown, filling in for the Big Bash for one more day before he returns from vacation. Enjoy this episode of Top Story, and then take a look at the full World Watch show, where you'll find more news and great stories like inflation in the United States reaches a level not seen since 1982, with rising costs for everything from gas to groceries. And break open a box of Cracker Jacks because baseball season is back. Now, this is Top Story. President Biden designated Colombia as a non-NATO ally, opening the door to closer military and commercial ties. This strategic move keeps the two countries working together against authoritarian rule, but doesn't guarantee U.S. military protection. The United States has to tread carefully, securing allies without dividing the world into two hemispheres that could face off in another world war.
And we will continue to raise our voice, and we will continue to evaluate within the multilateral system any sanctions that might be applicable to such a brutal violation of the sovereignty of Ukraine.
Colombia has been a safe haven for refugees fleeing from Venezuela, a country under U.S. sanctions for human rights abuses and governmental repression. Venezuela has recently sided with Russia on diplomatic issues. The U.S. also added Qatar to the non-NATO ally list. After the break, more about NATO allies, what countries make the cut, and how the organization started. Right in the middle of the Ukraine-Russia conflict is NATO. It's an organization whose name we've heard said a lot in the past couple weeks. Reporter Caleb Bailey is here to explain what NATO is and who belongs to it.
A lot of people are wondering how Ukraine and NATO are connected. NATO stands for North Atlantic Treaty Organization. After World War II, the US, Canada, and several European countries formed a mutual defense alliance. If any one of them were attacked again, the others would step in to help. As a result, Western Europe was largely under US protection when the Soviet Union began dominating Central and Eastern Europe. The Soviet rule ended with the close of the Cold War, but the alliance lived on. Meanwhile, Ukraine, which is in Eastern Europe, does not belong to NATO. Western powers don't have a military obligation to defend Ukraine, but recently they've been sending arms and supplies in an effort to ward off Russian attacks. Another action NATO is considering is a no-fly zone. This would require members of the alliance to deploy fighter planes to keep all Russian aircraft, hostile or not, out of the sky. NATO has refrained from enacting a no-fly zone, afraid it could spark an all-out war with Russia.
The suffering we now see in Ukraine is horrific. It affects us all. And we have a responsibility to ensure the conflict does not escalate and spread beyond Ukraine. That would be even more dangerous, destructive, and even more deadly. The situation could spiral out of control.
So while alliances are protective to the participating countries, those ties can complicate the situation and aggravate countries that aren't a part of them. NATO has to be strategic and calculate its moves carefully.
Make sure to check out the full site at worldwatch.news. You can try out the show free for a month. Thanks for watching, everyone. I'm Myrna Brown. And remember, whatever the news, the purpose of the Lord will stand.